Well, welcome back. Here's a look at where markets ended the week after the Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged, but Chairman Jay Powell signaled 2 rate cuts this year. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also telling me this week that the economy is healthy and he sees no reason for a recession. This as President Trump is touting new tariffs in a post on Truth Social, writing April 2nd is Liberation Day in America. Of course, April 2nd is when the reciprocal tariffs will come. But results of a new Fox News poll show only 28% of those surveyed believe tariffs are going to be helpful and help the U.S. economy, while 53% say they think they will hurt. Joining me now is White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Kevin, great to have you this weekend.
Hey,
Thank
Maria.
you for being here. And what do you want to say to those American citizens to convince them that these tariffs ultimately will be beneficial in the end?
Right. The only thing that we need to do to be convinced that the tariffs are going to work is to just look at the data that we already have. So what's been going on is the president has promised that there's going to be tariffs in April. And what's happened is ahead of April, already in February, we're seeing a massive explosion in industrial production here in the U.S. In fact, we just got data this week that said that auto production in February was up 8.5%. That's not an annual rate. That's 8.5% in a single month. To put that in perspective, under Joe Biden's failed policies, it dropped 7.8% in an entire year last year. And so what's happening is that domestic production is advancing at a rapid rate. And what that's doing is it's putting more money in people's pockets because they've got jobs and they've got high-paying auto jobs. And so the idea that the tariffs are going to be a negative for the economy is something that's pushed by the mainstream media to people. And certainly it's going to affect their sentiment until they see the actions of the people, the economic actors that are responding to the tariffs. And so if you watch the data, you're going to have really wonderful things to celebrate.
So we have to wait and watch. But I guess, Kevin, we are now entering what's called pre-announcement season, where we hear pre-announcements from corporations who are about to report their first quarter earnings. The quarter is almost over. And this week we saw FedEx plummet. FedEx saying that the parcel delivery company is lowering its full year guidance for a third consecutive quarter. They're citing inflation and uncertain demand for shipments because of the uncertainty around tariffs. So what do you want to say to some of these companies like a FedEx or even Nike? Nike also worried about tariffs. It's obviously getting products from China. And, we may see these companies be forced to raise prices. So what about that? The pre-announcement season seems to be beginning in an ugly way, Kevin.
Well, there are going to be a lot of really big positive stories in earnings seasons as well. But the thing to think about the data, and this would be something with regard to FedEx, is, Maria, I remember you came down to Washington for the inauguration, right? Do you remember how cold it was? It was
Absolutely.
Crazy cold.
Yes.
And so in January and February, there was unseasonably cold weather and then an unseasonably bad flu season. And all the data releases talk about the January and February, which we, by the way, more or less inherited from Joe Biden because our policies weren't even in place then. And so I think that there will be perhaps some negative earnings surprises for people who had to move stuff around like FedEx in a season where there's really bad weather and lots of flu. But the fundamentals of the economy are super strong. We're seeing industrial production skyrocket. Like the number this week is the highest ever, Maria.
Look, you also have companies wondering if they're going to be the next company to face a government contract that is being eliminated. You saw what happened to Accenture. But that brings me to the DOGE cuts, and you and your colleagues looking under every rock to try to figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is. What have you learned, Kevin?
Yeah, I got to say that as the National Economic Council director, one of my jobs is to coordinate the economic policy activities of the economic cabinet agencies. And I've been meeting, having regular lunches with the cabinet secretaries and going into what's happening with them. And I just met with Kelly Loeffler at the Small Business Administration yesterday or the day before. And what we were looking at was just all the bad loans that the Biden people were shoveling out the door. And there were really incredible horror stories of big million-dollar loans going to people who are more than 100 years old and million-dollar loans going to people who are less than 10 years old, and not even any attempt to figure out whether the loan could ever be paid back. And so the Biden administration stopped looking at the loans and thinking whether like a local bank might be willing to fund that thing, which is historically what they would do in the Small Business Administration. There's a complete mess, which Kelly is way ahead of the curve cleaning up. But everywhere we look, if you think of your model of Joe Biden as he wasn't all there, well, that's the model you you should have of everybody who is running one of his cabinet agencies. They weren't all there, and the thing just ran amok. And so there's a heck of a lot to clean up. But what it means, it's really good news, because we're cleaning it up, and it's going to end up making it so the taxpayers waste way less money than they have been on things that we don't even know what they were. And instead, we're going to do it. We're going to spend money on the things that we need to spend money on, and we're going to give people big tax cuts with what's left over.
Well, I mean, it's incredible to me, Kevin, that even in the Social Security rolls, we found all of those people. Well, Elon Musk and his team found, all of those people who claim to be 200 years old, 150 years old. They're still on the Social Security rolls. Now, we don't know if they were actually receiving money, but they may very well have been eligible for all of the benefits of Social Security.
Yeah, they were getting small business loans, these people. And so it's one of the things that we started a process yesterday. I want the taxpayers to know, under the direction of the president, we've started a process where we at the National Economic Council are going to coordinate all the cabinet agencies to see if the same person who's hundreds of years old getting Social Security is the person who's hundreds of years old who's getting a small business loan and is hundreds of years old getting loans from the EPA for green this and that. Because we think that there's going to be a heck of a lot of overlap of this fraud. And I think in the end, there'll probably be referrals to the Justice Department about all of this.
Unbelievable. Well, that sounds right. Referrals, in other words, criminal referrals to the DOJ.
Sure. That would be my expectation.
Kevin, real quick before you go, given that we are seeing some expectations that we're in a slowdown, the consumer slowing down, do you have any expectations that we will see a recession this year? Do you worry about that slowdown?
I get paid to worry, but the data that we have in hand are really strong. The consumption numbers are still positive for the first quarter. The capital spending numbers are through the roof. It's a booming capital spending sector. And so my current number is about 2.5 for the first quarter, which is lower than we're going to see in the rest of the year when Trump policies are in place, but a metric of a sort of not so bad hangover from the terrible Biden policies.
All right. We will leave it there. Kevin, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rhea.